Hey everyone, welcome to Profiles and Drive, the place where I invite amazing people to come sit here with me on the director's chair, share with me their story. Today I have Danny Batimana. He's the founder. Actually, I'm going to let him introduce himself.
Well, I'm the founder of Team Millennia and former manager of choreotics. I was also a former hip hop choreographer for a couple NBA teams, and then now I'm the founder and speaker for Happiness Is Now. So,
Wow.
yeah.
Dang, that's a lot. So tell me about, like, really, the reason I brought you is to talk about Happiness Is Now. Like, what inspired you to begin that?
What inspired me? To be honest with you, it started with me watching the movie Inception.
Hmm.
And at the time, I was not in a good place, and so I like to numb myself by going to bars and drinking or watching movies or just watching reality TV. And at that time, I was just really stressed out, so I had to kind of get away from what I was doing at that time. I was a high school teacher, and then had the Team Millennia dance studio, the newer one, in La Habra. And so I said I needed to get away, so I started watching. I watched that Leonardo DiCaprio movie by myself. And that movie messes with your mind. And it's really
It does.
crazy. So I remember it was just messing with my head because I was already stressed out, and so I decided to lay down and just watch it. And by the end of the movie, I had an aha moment, and I was like, I need to stop doing what I'm doing. I need to stop this rat race. I'm burnt out. I'm just tired.
Mm.
And so right after I got out of that movie, I called my best friend John. I said, look, this is going to be a huge decision and something that I might regret, but I'm actually going to forego the TM Dance Studio and just give it up.
Wow.
And so that kind of started everything. And so it began with the breakdown and the whole nervous breakdown and falling really hard. So at the same time, I lost my job as a teacher. A long-term relationship came to an end, and then the TM Dance Studio is now closed. I didn't have it anymore. And so that was kind of like the whole reason for me to redevelop my values. And for the first 32 years of my life, I was trying to gain acceptance by fame and money and power. I thought that the more success that I attained, the happier I would become. And I've done everything, up to that point. I was just getting unhappy and more unhappy. So it was a breakdown, a nervous breakdown that I had, midlife crisis, I guess. And that kind of just inspired me to do my first TED Talk. I think after I kind of started developing a better sense of what I wanted to do,
Yeah.
I said, hey, why not? I've been watching some of the TED Talks by Brene Brown, and I was like, I want to do one of
I love
those.
TED Talks. Yeah.
Yeah, and so I used my position as the manager for choreotics and for Team Millennia, and they got me to speak at their TEDx Youth in San Diego.
That is cool.
So that inspired me to keep doing more of these.
And these talks are available online, yeah?
Yeah, so it's on the Happiness Is Now YouTube and also on TEDx Youth San Diego.
I heard you say it was just one after the other that just led to it. What were conversations with yourself like?
A lot of the conversations with myself were, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're just not a good person, and it was just like this inner voice telling you that I was never going to be good enough. And it's kind of like that negative person in your head that we all have. It's like our demon, or it's like our ego that's telling us these things. And at that time, I was just giving up to it until I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, talking about the ego, and I was like, oh my God, I never realized, I was never aware of what this thing was, right? And it is a part of me, and I realized that it's a part of me and it's something that I can control, and so I just needed to be aware of it. So at that time before, my conversations with myself were very negative, but once I kind of grasped and understood what my inner voice was and my ego, and I could differentiate the two, then I started to have pretty good conversations, and I could be aware with what I was feeling and what my actions were. So I started to get control of it.
Oh, yeah. Nice. The first TED Talk. So what? I just want to quickly bounce on what did you get to share with them?
Basically, I shared my journey on what happiness means to me, and a big part of it was the fact that I was in the closet for 23 years, and I think by not being who I was and not being true to myself and not loving myself unconditionally, it created a self-hatred and it created a homophobia that I had within myself. And so that TED Talk was telling the youth that please be who you are and love yourself regardless. And it's okay if you have these fears, because the way to become successful and happy and to succeed is to overcome these obstacles and fears. But once you kind of get over that big fear, the biggest fear that you have, all these other doors open up.
Yeah.
And it's like, wow, it's like Pandora's box, and there's like different things that you can do.
Yeah,
so I think after I did the TED Talk, I was like, look, I'm not a failure. I actually did something for the youth, and they really enjoyed it. I remember right after I did the talk, I went outside, and there was 2 lesbian females that came out, and they just really appreciated the time out there. So right when I heard that, I was like, this is what I want to do. Speaking and inspiring and empowering youth is sort of like creating that energy. Like doing something that you're passionate about creates energy.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of times where we could be tired from our job, and sometimes we seek coffee or workout to get the energy.
Yeah.
But can you imagine if you started as a young child and your parents or society told you that doing what you love and finding a passion, it creates your energy? Wouldn't you want to do that every day so that you didn't have to, you would always be energetic and you would have a zest for life?
Yeah.
Like these messages, as simple as they are, they're not told.
Yep.
And so once I heard that, I was like, oh yeah, doing what I'm passionate about brings me a lot of life and energy. And at the times when I'm not feeling up to it, I'll go back to the basics, like playing basketball or dancing or speaking. So it's sort of like a medicine for me.
Oh wow, that's cool. Yeah. Speaking of basketball, I'm actually, because I just showed you like one of my before we started recording, one of the things I'm trying to cross off my bucket list.
Yeah.
Another thing is, besides basketball, I'm trying to learn how to play basketball.
Mm-hmm.
So that's pretty cool. So I'm gonna have to test my skills against you. I'm not that good, but I'm getting there. But yeah, that's one huge thing that doing, like parents, like supporting what their kids are inclined to do. It just reminded me of like a book I'm reading called Mastery from Robert Greene. Like those natural inclinations that kids have, but it's not, I feel like there's a dogma of things that we're supposed to say, oh, you like that, but this is way society's instruction, we have to follow it. And to be honest, it drives me nuts sometimes when especially when I'm working, when I was teaching with kids. It's just like, it felt like, I don't know, they were scared to express themselves because of judgment and feeling wrong. And when the minute they got to experience that kind of freedom, they opened up a lot more. So the natural inclination that these kids, that I believe all of us have, to be something like that we're passionate about. And on that topic, what do you say to like kids in general, the youth that are experiencing that? Because like growing up, and it's like the first few years, my mom was telling me to be a doctor, and then it took her a while to accept the fact that I wanted to go into art. So then what do you say to them, like when they can hear that?
How do you know you want to be a doctor? You're so young. Like there's so many things to experience,
Yeah.
And I think once the parents already ingrained that they want their kid to be a doctor, it's very dangerous. And I'm not saying that if you want to be a doctor, then go ahead, fulfill those dreams. But from my experience, you really need to try everything and fail at things and realize that you don't like certain things, or to really realize what you want to do. Like it takes a while.
Yeah.
It's not learned all of a sudden. It's a journey. Life is a journey. It's not about, okay, I'm going to do this, I know what to do, and then you're going to focus on that. It's really not about that. It's about having a balance,
Yeah.
And many people have a work balance, or have a job that they may like or may not like, but for the ones that don't like their work, you have to have a balance.
Yeah.
Or else you're going to burn, right? So I think it's just very dangerous for a parent to kind of already assume and not let the child make their own decisions, because when they're adults and you've already made all their decisions for them, well, what's going to happen when they become adults?
Yeah. Oh, that's a really good point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The creativity is just lost once you tell your child, like, this is what you're going to be doing. Then they don't have to think for themselves. It's already set in stone for them. And so the whole creative part of you thinking, of the child thinking, is hindered.
Yeah.
Because they don't get to think.
And you were talking about the rat race. Like my definition is like you earn going from paycheck to paycheck, or one achievement to the other achievement. Was that your meaning definition of the rat race?
Yeah, I think that the definition for me for the rat race is not being happy with what you have, right?
Yeah.
And always setting another goal for yourself. And once you get into that, you achieve that one achievement, or
Yeah.
you achieve that one award or accolade.
Yeah.
Then there's always a next one.
Yeah.
And then it's, you're never happy with that one, and then there's a next one, and then you're not happy with that because there's more to come. And so you've already built this sort of staircase in which you're never going to get to your goal because you keep expanding.
Yeah.
The goal, and so you're just always going to be climbing the stairs, and you're never going to be really happy.
Okay. So, what did you think that's a part of human growth, though? Like to continue, not so much achieving, but challenging oneself.
I don't think it was about the whole growth. I think that,
not acknowledging the happiness, right?
Well, just not really taking a step back and acknowledging all the good things that you have done. So the growth comes from, okay, you accomplished something, but really going back and seeing, oh wow, I really did this, and these were the steps that I did to do it. And then having another goal. I'm not saying don't have goals, but to really pat yourself on the back when you've done something good, and not always focusing on the negative, like, oh well, I didn't make enough money on this, or I didn't do this well enough. But what about you flip on the positive side and see, and really reflect back at the journey that took and the heartache that it took to get there. I think we're always on to the next project. We never give ourselves time to kind of reflect on what we just did.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a whole topic of self-love right there. Why do you think it's so difficult for many people to even acknowledge themselves?
I think it's just a human. It's ingrained in humans that we're never going to be perfect. A lot of people have a notion that they're going to be perfect, but it's not attainable. Perfection is not attainable, and it's very easy to build upon the negativity, like I said.
Yeah.
It's very easy to build upon negativity and not on positivity. And so we don't love ourselves enough. We really don't. And I think in order to love somebody else, or to be a good husband or a boyfriend or girlfriend, or to be a good friend, you really have to dig deep and down and look inside yourself before you can even judge anybody else.
Yeah.
I think everything that comes out of you as a person starts with yourself. And so, a lot of problems in the world could be avoided if we kind of just work on ourselves first.
Yep, it's definitely one of the things I heard. It's how can you give what you don't have? You don't love yourself, you can't give back. And going back from watching that aha moment, what I want to look at what was the first thought, what am I doing? What did you see? What was that sensation like?
I guess I could put it in terms of dancing. I just don't know when it's gonna happen. I used to choreograph in the car a lot because I would get a lot of inspiration, and it would just come out, the moves would come out. I don't know why in the car, but there are just different moments that you have to be aware of. And once I was aware, I would have these different aha moments, and they just come about. It's kind of like the universe is throwing these out there, and it's for you to pick them up and see and really be aware of it.
That's a really good one.
So it always comes out, and you just have to really be aware of it. I don't know when they're coming, but when they come, I just know. I just knew, when I was watching that movie, my mind was just getting overwhelmed, and all of a sudden it said, drop TM Dance Studio, you need to drop everything, and you need to start over. That's what the universe, God, was telling me that I needed to do. You need to stop doing what you were doing at that moment and just start over.
Wow, and starting over is huge. What was that process like, so to speak?
Embarrassment, shame, guilt, You know, I knew that I would lose the respect of my dancers. I knew that people would think of me as a failure. I thought that. It's just a lot of shame, and it's something that you really need to dig deep inside. And I wouldn't have gotten out of it unless I found a therapist. And her name is Veronica, and she helped me start from basics. And you know, she was asking questions around my family and my childhood. And she straight out said it: you're not comfortable with who you are. You have low self-esteem.
Wow.
It's like, oh, you're probably right. And so I had to really start with myself, and it took a while. So for the first couple months, I changed my diet. I became vegan. I started exercising, limited alcohol, started reading, started getting into nature. I just did everything that I was not doing before. So I kind of did a whole. It was me time.
They're really taking care of yourself.
Myself.
Like,
sort of being selfish, and I know that makes me sound bad to the audience out there, but you really need to take care of yourself first and figure that out. And then, I mean, after you do that, you could just do like I said, the Pandora's box opens, and there's just so many possibilities and things that you would never have thought before that you could do.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like it's a sort of a paradox, for lack of a better word, because it's like in order to be selfless, you got to be kind of selfish. You got to take care of yourself, then you can take care of everyone else. Like the whole in the planes crashing, you got to put your own mask on before everyone else's. So, man.
You need a good foundation.
Yeah.
It's like you can't be a dancer if you don't have foundation. You can't be a b-boy if you don't know how to do the six-step. Right?
Yeah, for
So
sure.
it's like,
Yeah.
you need a good foundation, and it starts with you. So.
That's a huge point. My favorite question is like, if you had a message to share with yourself, like from back then, like what would that message be?
I would have told myself that people are going to love you regardless if you're gay or not. And all these stories that you make up in your head about people not accepting you and loving you for who you are things that you've made up.
Mm-hmm.
So get over it. You know, that's what I would have told myself. Like, nobody cares. Just be who you are.
That's a huge one. And speaking of now, what are you doing now? Like you just told me you just got out of a meeting. So like, where you?
You know, now that I'm leaving my part-time job soon, because now happiness is my full-time job, and it supplements my income. And so
Nice.
you know, I've been reading these books like, wouldn't you love to combine your passion with your job and get paid to do something that you love? And finally I'm at that point that I can do something that I love and get paid for it and inspire and empower people. So, but there's a secret to what I'm doing that I feel has worked for me. For every job that is paid, for every school that pays for the presentation, there's another school that can't afford it that needs for you to do it regardless of the money, right?
Wow.
So I feel like every time I've done shows for free or schools or presentations, a job appears.
Huh.
And so I'm not afraid to take all these jobs that are not paid or do schools or Catholic schools or go to club meetings or just interviews, just stuff that's selfless, because I know that the universe is going to have these schools hire us. Because in education, there are schools that have money and there are schools that aren't.
Yeah.
But the people that usually need to hear the message are the ones that usually can't afford it.
Yeah.
We've created a system where we can do through our donors and our benefits and our nonprofit status that we can do these free shows, but then there's other schools that kind of supplement that. So
That's cool. Like really the whole pay it forward.
yeah, paid for it. I feel like, you know, even though we do, I mean, it could be the tiniest thing, you know. I recently did something where I was on, for an hour I was on, what's that, Ustream?
Oh,
I was
yeah,
just like
Ustream.
talking,
Yeah.
talking to kids and stuff, and they were asking questions. I did it for an hour. It was fun, you know, and I feel like something as small as that something will happen, you know.
Wow.
Somebody will see it. I don't know. It just happened. So I was talking, my meeting was to talk with Cal State Fullerton, the Filipino American Student Association. That's where I went to school. That's where Team Maloney was founded. I thought, well, why don't I share my story with those kids, and maybe something will happen. Maybe somebody will get inspired to do to change their major and really go for what they really want to do.
Yeah,
right?
that's
So,
true.
maybe the college scene will be next. You never know. Just
That's cool.
do everything. And in the beginning, that was my whole focus. Do everything because I love it. But then, the people around me told me, you need to be paid for your talent. Like you're doing all this for free, but you're talented. So there's still that part of me that like the ego side's like, oh, you could do this and you really get paid a lot of money for it. But then I have to kind of have that balance, like, well, this is not how I started. This is not how you got into the business. It wasn't about the money.
Yeah.
But then my ego is telling me, oh, you still need to get paid. So it's a balance. I'm always fighting. Like, do I do this or do I do this? And it's sort of a balance. So every day there's conflict. I'm not saying every day is happiness. Right?
Yeah.
Every day is a new day. It could be a good day.
Yeah.
It could be a bad day. Like I've had, the weekend was not so great, but I know that I reset the next day, and I get a whole another chance to live that day, another day. So I used to look forward in the future and really like focus on that. And once I catch myself, kind of just go back into the present and be like, oh, it's been pretty good so far. So nothing to complain about.
What would you say to someone like that's like, we're not always gonna be happy. Like, I'm a realistic person, and life sucks sometimes, or shit happens. So what do you say, how would you respond, like those kind of things?
Life sucks. Sometimes it's hard. I agree. What I would tell to that person is that it is a change of the way that you perceive things.
Yeah.
But then again, they would say, I'm a realist. What I would say then is that, I try not to get too high and to be too happy, because to get to this point of happiness all the time, you would have to either win the lottery or go clubbing all the time, or drink or do drugs to get this high. And so it's very dangerous to always trying to get this high, and I try not to get too low or depressed about something, because that if something tragic would happen, I try not to stay at this level as well. I'm really sad or depressed. I try to get out of that state. What I would recommend for somebody like that is to kind of just kind of have highs about this high and lows about this low, and kind of stay in the middle, so that when something bad happens, you don't sink to that low level. You're like, okay, I'm about right here. It's gonna get back up. It's gonna get back to that point. And then when something really great happens, I'm gonna go about to right here, so that I'm always staying around this center section. Right.
Centered, so to speak.
Right. Again, it's the balance thing, because, like I said, if you're trying to get this happiness or joy and excitement, you can't sustain it.
I think that's the kind of everyone's trying to achieve all the time.
Right.
I feel like.
It's not sustainable. Happiness is not here. Happiness has different definitions. Content is being happy. Sitting
okay.
and reading is happiness. It's not about being like cheerful and energetic.
That's most happy. Some people think.
Right. No. The most happy people in the world are Buddhist monks who don't drive cars. They're all vegans. They live in the Himalayas and they meditate. Like, that's content.
Yeah.
So it's all about. Definition of happiness is different for people, but for me, happiness is just being, at most of the time, it's being right here, being content with how I'm living. And at times I get excited, but I try not to go too high, because I don't want to get used to the crash. And then I don't want to get too low, because it's very dangerous as well. So try to keep it right here.
That's cool. Especially in our society, it's so easy to go up and low. And it's huge to be even keeled. And I think that's a philosophy I tend to forget. Because what do you call it? I want that. Oh, I want that, and then something happens. It's easy to go from like oh, I got something, and something bad happened, you're down right away. Mm-hmm. So that's cool. Have you ever thought about writing your own book?
I'm not a writer, but my best friend, who's also my partner for happiness, is now John Abbas. He actually is the writer. So he's not the person that likes to be in front of the cameras, and he has a great story. By the way, but he's sort of the behind-the-scenes person, and he likes to write. So we are developing a book. It's going to take some time on our experiences, and we're just trying to do as many shows as we can, so that we can figure out what we actually want to write about, so that kids can have this material to read and learn what we're doing. So it's there, but I'm not really a writer. I try, but I put blogs out there once in a while, but I know that that's not what my passion is, so John's writing.
Gotcha. Yeah. I'm assuming not everyone knows what an event would be like. Give me like a quick run through, like how you prepare, like getting into these events, or like what you like, what you want to share. Like, is it the topics most like what you share is mostly the same, or does it change sometimes?
Oh, it all depends. You know, it depends by grade levels. It depends by socioeconomic status,
Okay.
ethnicity. It all depends. So, for example, sixth graders are probably the easiest grade to perform for. Seventh graders, although they were cute and bubbly in sixth grade, they're pretty difficult in seventh grade. Not all of them. I'm just saying from my experience, they're pretty difficult. And then eighth graders, it's hit or miss.
Huh.
High school seniors are really cool to work with. And it depends on the demographic. Like I said, to do a presentation in my hometown of Diamond Bar would be different than to go out to Rialto and do a presentation, because it's just different. The messages are different. So
Yeah.
I cater every show depending on what the API score of the school is, how many people have free and reduced lunch, and ethnicity. I mean, those are big tells of what the school dynamic is like. So when I was a former teacher at West Covina High School, we were a pretty good school. I mean, we were in the middle of the pack. We had a lot of folks that couldn't afford lunch, so the presentation could be catered to easily towards that demographic. But when you have a school that has a low API score, you know that right off the bat they're poor. They don't have any money. Their parents are not really involved with the kids, and so it's just inspiring them to do something.
Yeah.
You know, just do something, anything.
Yeah.
You know, play a sport, do something, inspiring them. But when you have a school that has a higher API score, which is a test score, then the message to them is like, great, you guys are doing great academically, but what are you doing to balance that stress of academics? What's the other balance?
Huh.
So it all depends on what grade and the demographic.
That's cool. It's like, so it's not a one size fits all sort of thing. It's really
No,
tailor fit.
Yeah, and it's just like teaching. It really is just like teaching. You don't teach the same to every student.
Yeah.
The teachers that try to do that, you're not successful. So that's why it's very difficult for a teacher. Is probably one of the hardest jobs ever to be a teacher, because you have so many different learning abilities that's going on, and so you have to hit everything.
Yeah, like, some like would like need to know the structure, and so then they're the ones that just like to goof off.
Right,
So
and I taught for 8 years, so I kind of learned how to get through with the kids.
Wow.
And so I don't think I would have done Happiness Is Now if I wasn't a high school teacher. If I did not go through the trenches of teaching, I probably wouldn't be able to do this or connect with the kids, because I can connect with the kids automatically. I already know.
So you were one of the cool teachers in high school, huh?
It's just you connected. I use dance. Everybody likes dancing. Just connected with that. So you use that to your advantage.
Uh-huh.
It's sort of like a little manipulation, but use it to your advantage. And people that don't use that and are just there to kind of like clock in and clock out, you're losing this whole other way of motivating the kids, and the experience that you get out of it, you're missing out on that.
I loved those kind of teachers I'm going to high school, like the ones that are like super passionate about a message. Like there's a message that somehow like I don't know, that relates to everything.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, okay. Well, I'm gonna go into my last question. What is your definition of greatness?
My definition for greatness is someone who can block out all the noise in their heads from society, can block that out and just do and be comfortable with who they are, and to just be who they were supposed to be, or do the things that they're supposed to do and were meant to do on this planet. So again, greatness are people who can block out the noise and just do what they do best, and what their purpose here on Earth is for.
Awesome.
Once you just break it down to those basics, you know, greatness is sort of hard, right? But yeah, just being who you are and doing the thing you're meant to do.
How can people connect with you on
On our website, www.happinessisnow.org, And then from there, we have Instagram, Facebook, we have everything. So it's very easy to get in contact. And it's funny because what started off as like a high school presentation has gone into going into people like my friend's family house.
Wow.
And doing a little workshop or presentation for the family.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, taking the family dynamic and just asking them questions and sharing, doing different like strategies and stuff. And then at the end, teaching them how to meditate and kind of like quiet the mind.
That's one thing that I definitely use. I mean, that I learned from Phil Jackson's book. We were talking about that. FamBiz, we before every rehearsal and every what do you call it, competition, we always meditate. And I found that they're huge. There's something so powerful about meditating, just being with yourself and then being with others, and then when I meditate with my son, who's like 8 months, he's like a little bundle of energy. When I'm meditating with him, he's like quiet with me. And what I'm doing is like I'm imagining sending all my energy and love to him, and he just calms down. It's a meditation. And I think that's cool that you're sharing it. That you shared it with the family. How did they take that?
Well, we haven't done it yet.
Oh.
Yeah, but I got the idea from Deepak Chopra. I went to hear him talk. He was maybe 2 people before Phil Jackson came up. So I went to see him speak, and he did a whole meditation. It was 2 minutes in front of for everybody. And because I've been meditating for a while, all the noise shut, and I could feel everybody's energy. Like I felt we were all connected, and it was so peaceful and quiet. And it was just, in that moment, I could just feel like this like force or this energy that we all kind of connected. And it was just really quick. It happened really quick. And I've been going to Deepak's symposium for the past couple of years. The first year we went, he has it down in his La Costa place, his La Costa resort. That's where he has, that's where his headquarters are at. And so he has this symposium with sages and scientists.
Wow.
And they try to bring in physics with the spiritual one. So the first year we went there was for Poiotics, they performed. The second year was for Miniotics. And then this year, Happiness is now gets to perform for the folks and just kind of share what we do.
That's cool.
And so he's helped a lot, definitely with the whole meditation and self-healing.
Yeah, dude, thanks for coming out and sharing your story. And so if you want to check out where he's at, the show notes are right down below. And yeah, thank you so much for coming out, dude.
Thank you so much.
That's Profiles and Drive. I'll chat you guys next time. Dude, thank you so much for coming out. Then that story, that meditation, I have heard of Deepak for a little bit, reading 7 months. I've never been compelled to really go to any of his events. So and then that little story right there, like that quick meditation.
Yeah, I'm doing a 21-day meditation because he's now Oprah's like homeboy, like they're connected. So he's her spiritual guru, and so I'm doing this. They have a 21-day meditation. So I'll send the link to you. You can just go download it on your phone, and then each day it's a different mantra.
Oh wow!
Yeah, it's pretty cool. Today was about passion, and I was like, oh my god, this is so great. So yeah, I'm on day 19, and then once I finish it, I'll go back to the beginning. That's kind of just so.
So quick, curious, what made you want to go to Phil Jackson? Aside from
I read his book. Yeah, I read his 11 Rings, the one that he's promoting. That's why he's having this. He's promoting that book. I read it. I like his philosophy of healing and stuff, and he uses Buddhism. Yeah. And and then he always refers to people that I've read, or Thich Nhat Hanh, something like that. Oh yeah. He mentions them in the book. I'm like, it's crazy. So I just want to hear. I was inspired, so I was like, oh, it's $22. It's on the street. Like, might as well see him speak. And because he's also a speaker, so I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go and just see what he does and what he does in his show or whatever to get the crowd connected. Oh, wow. That's cool. I also watched Mike Tyson too. He did his one-man show.
Yeah. I've heard that he's gone super he's like really like changed in his way to be.
Yeah, I mean, it's a one-man show, and he just tells his life story. He's a vegan, and the drugs have really done something to him though, in the boxing. Like, he's kind of crazy, but it's pretty cool. I like the show. So, just watching people just watching people on stage and seeing how they like inspire people and what they do.
It's like one of the reasons I'm doing videos is I want to eventually get the confidence to do new presentations like what you're doing. So
Yeah.
I don't know where to start. Like if you have and I get the story sometimes. Like and then Danny had a good start. He got to manage. He got to do a TED talk. Like and things like things like that. Sometimes like sort of. But yeah, dude. And I'm excited for that. Now I'm just. When tomorrow comes back, my goal is to somehow get him to